Good morning, Derrick Reimer.
Good morning, Ben Orenstein. How are you?
I'm great. I am home. I'm working from the home.
Yeah, so you snowed in?
I am, but I'm happily snowed in. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
We have about probably 9 inches of snow on the ground, so everyone is working from home, including my roommates, which is fun because we just made pancakes and bacon and stuff and did a little roommate breakfast.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's turning into a pretty chill morning.
Very good.
Yeah. How's the unemployed life?
The unemployed life is good. Can I start off with a rant about something?
Always. This is a podcast. Isn't that how they're supposed to go?
I think so, yeah. So I'll disclaimer this with it's very much a first world problem, but hear me out anyways. So I decided that I wanted to upgrade my monitor situation at home, and I had one external monitor and I was using my laptop as my other monitor, but it always sort of bothered me that they were different sizes. So decided to swing for 2 Dell monitors and put them on a nice mounted arm so that they're floating over my desk. That's working well, but I realized when I bought my new personal laptop about 6 months ago, I went for the MacBook Pro that doesn't have the touch bar because I can't stand the touch bar. And so it only has 2 USB-C ports. I had just assumed that you could easily set up a hub to get yourself more USB-C ports if you need to. But turns out that such a thing doesn't really exist.
Really?
Yeah. So you search for USB-C hub and you see lots of hubs that go from one USB-C to a bunch of USB 3 or the old style USB port. There are a few products out there that give you 2 USB-C off of one, but a lot of them don't have pass-through charging, meaning that if you try to plug in a power cable, it won't pass power off to your laptop. And that's the only way to charge your laptop is through USB-C. So it doesn't really buy you an extra port because now you've given up your ability to charge. I've spent about an hour last night trying to figure out how am I going to power both of these monitors, because I want to go USB-C to DisplayPort, because DisplayPort is I think the best way to get those bits over to the monitors. But I've been trying to play dongle puzzle piecing together to try to figure out how I'm going to do this.
Yeah, it's going to get better eventually, right? Eventually there'll be a bunch of USB-C connectors on everything and there won't be all these hubs and dongles and things.
I sure hope so. I mean, I don't know. I've came across forum threads on the Apple website and on Reddit and different places. People are just how am I not finding something to solve this? And some of the responses were well, manufacturers aren't fully on board with the USB-C thing because Apple just sort of decided to do it without widespread adoption. So no one's manufacturing these hubs. I think you need a powered hub. I really don't know much about how the hardware side of USB works, but supposedly if you're going to have multiple USB-Cs, you need a powered hub, so there's a power source coming into the hub, and those are generally more expensive and more complicated, and as far as I can tell, no one's manufacturing one that does multiple USB-Cs.
I'm hoping this is just kind of adoption pain, where it's yeah, there's not a lot of USB-C stuff right now, but eventually everyone will hate this too, and it'll get fixed. But I have the same thing. It's I keep being surprised when I go to plug my laptop into a thing and be oh, goddamn, I need that, whatever. That just happens over and over right now. It feels for developer or professional laptops, tons of ports of different types is seems like a given to me.
Yeah. I like the cleanliness of having just a unified port system and not the old days where you had a VGA and an HDMI and a display port and all these things. But I mean, the fact that you're super constrained, because there's no standard USB to display port, as far as I can tell. You need the USB-C to deliver that volume of data, I suppose. I'm not sure exactly what's the limiting factor. So I don't know.
All right. Your rant is noted, for the record.
Yeah. So don't assume that you will be able to get all the ports you need off of USB-C.
Well, okay. How are things other than that?
Things are going great. So last time we talked, I believe, soft launching the manifesto. The following Monday from when we recorded is when, it was March 5th, is when I did the big push on Twitter. Twitter was
Which
the main.
Worked. I saw it all over the place.
Good. Yeah. It seemed to get pretty good adoption by folks. Some of the numbers, got 56 retweets. It drove 2,300 uniques to my website. Not too shabby. And day of, I captured 262 email addresses. So I feel pretty good about that. I've experimented with this before where you just kind of promote. You click the promote button on a tweet and you can just insert dollars and Twitter will figure out how to amplify it. And I've run like Twitter ads before in the past when it was sort of a newer thing and you kind of had to go through the ad manager and pick your audience and configure all this stuff. And I decided for this time just to see how well Twitter did at kind of optimizing the audience to receive the tweet. And it like initially looked good. It drove 27,000 impressions and I put $100 into it. But it only drove 18 clicks, 2 likes, and 0 retweets. So kind of a strikeout on that. But
clicks. I wonder how many emails do you think? Did you get that far?
I didn't track all the way through because it just like promoted the same tweet that was organic. So I don't really have a great way of differentiating, have like the same UTM params on the link. When you go through the ad manager, you can obviously like set up a custom tweet just for promotion. So I wouldn't totally write off Twitter ads or anything, but
yeah. I mean, if everybody that clicked it signed up for it, $100 for 18 emails is like, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, not super great.
Not amazing.
So, yeah. So not writing off Twitter ads, but I think next time I would like probably try to do my own choosing audiences and stuff and see if I can do better than Twitter's algorithm. Yeah, there was quite a bit of activity on Twitter, people posting their thoughts, a lot of supportive, messages, and developers obviously kind of resonating with the message, which was good to hear. Also, like had some skeptics out there, which is good. It can't all be positive. Some of the biggest questions or sort of skeptical thoughts that I heard were, how is this different than X, Y, and Z? X, Y, and Z being mainly Basecamp and Twist, which is a product from the makers of Todoist. It was kind of good to think through like, yeah, why should you care about this and not just read this piece and then go off and use Basecamp? I think I don't fully have my best responses to that nailed down. So this was a good opportunity to sort of refine and think that through. And I think that'll always be a question. And on the one hand, I don't feel like I totally need to always have a perfect answer to that because there's always going to be many tools to solve a problem. And I have a particular approach that I want to take with this. And it doesn't mean that Basecamp's a bad tool. Like I would not disparage the work they're doing. They're a great product team and produce a really nice product. But when I sit down and think through what is the ideal solution to this problem, it doesn't look exactly like Basecamp. So
totally,
So.
I saw you responding thusly on Twitter saying like, yeah, those are good tools, but we all have our, unique approach. And I think there's room for plenty of us. And I think that's a reasonable thing to say. And over time, I think you're going to figure out where you differ philosophically from these other things. And you'll have if you like this type of approach, then Basecamp makes sense. And if you like this type of approach, you should check us out.
Yep, totally. And I think like there's something to be said too for building a product that is optimized for a particular niche. I recognize that the pain with Slack is felt by pretty much anyone who falls into the maker category. I feel like that's like maker versus manager is a good kind of way to draw a line between how different people feel about the tool, where managers are much more feel the pain much less because their job is to be interrupted. Maker's job is to try to minimize their context switching and their interruptions. So there's a broad audience that can feel the pain, but I think there's something to be said for going specifically after the developer market. We have kind of unique needs outside of just the broad maker space. And a lot of the really successful tools like Basecamp are sort of targeted at more of a broad audience. And for better or worse, they sort of have to try to please, people who do consulting and client work and people who run small businesses. And so I think there's just an opportunity to be more catered to the market.
Totally. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I love that your initial niche is you effectively. That'll just help you so much in making good decisions.
Yeah. The best opportunity for success is going after something that I know intimately. So
yeah. And I picture so we use Slack at work and I picture trying to sell a team on using a different tool. And if I send them to like the Basecamp landing page, it's like a project management tool for teams and maybe remote teams or something. And it's like, okay, yeah, that looks okay. But if I send them to level, it's like a better answer for development teams that are tired of Slack interrupting them. It's like, okay, that is going to resonate a heck of a lot more.
Yep, totally. And that's the hope. So we'll see how it goes. But I think I'm still optimistic. I don't feel deterred by the folks who have brought up other tools. And I would say like the other biggest theme of skepticism is like, this is a people problem, not a tool problem. And I've heard that in many different forms. And I think unsurprisingly, it's when I look at like who's actually saying these things, it's like VPs of engineering and founders and people who are kind of maybe less on the maker side. So it's not totally surprising, but still just a good reminder that there's a lot of people who just don't get it or just feel like this problem can be completely solved by instilling good company culture. I specifically tried to go after this objection in the manifesto to get out ahead of it. But one, people probably don't read super deeply, so a lot of people probably missed that. And two, like it's just, I think it's going to take a lot of just nuance and figuring out how to speak directly to people's objections to really nail this point home that that tools can actually help guide the way that users use the product, you know?
Tools help guide the way your team works when they're a tool that's central, like, you know, Slack or Basecamp or Level or whatever. Like if you have a GitHub repo, everything is an issue or a PR.
Right.
So it's like that shapes how people think about things and interact around things.
Yeah. And like trying to drive the point home that like, for sure, if you have a bad culture, an interruptive culture, then Slack is going to amplify that. That in and of itself is not Slack's fault. But it's also true that you may have a very healthy, respectful culture and still feel the pain of Slack because like when I @mention someone, for example, they're going to feel the anxiety of needing to respond quickly because for all the reasons I outlined, it may get lost in the thread or be many scrolls back. So if they don't respond to it right away, then they're risking missing out or losing important pieces of information. But me @mentioning that person, like, that wasn't a bad thing, and I didn't intend to cause anxiety. It's just the tool doesn't lend itself well to asynchronous conversations. So,
yeah, even if you're amazing about interruptions, you still have this infinite scroll of discussion that requires catching up with and is not organized and is tricky to come back to.
Yep. So I find myself as a user where I'm proactively trying to be respectful of my team, I'm really at a loss of like, what's the best way to send this message to this person without causing them anxiety or interrupting them? And I struggle when you're struggling to figure out how best to do that, you know, the tools are failing you.
Totally agree. Yeah. I actually had that exact feeling this week. So we have someone on our team that is sort of heads down on fixing a DevOps type problem. And it's blocking a bunch of other things. And so we're all trying to like stay away from this person so as to give them the focus time. But there was one question. I was pairing with someone and there's a question that came up and it was like, okay, Dan really is the guy for this. And I was like, how do I ask Dan a question in a way that's not going to interrupt him and like convey that he should not lose his flow if he isn't there? And it's tricky.
Some organizations out there may say like, well, use email for that. But there's a lot of us who we want to use one system. Like ideally our communication would be centralized in one place. And if you just decide to like go outside the norm and use email, like there's a good chance that could get lost in amongst all their other things in their inbox, because if they're not used to using email as a way for handling async things and they're used to using Slack, then that's subpar too. So yeah.
There's also, I feel like once we adopted Slack, people stopped paying as much attention to email, which is kind of okay. But now it's like email is almost a black hole in a way, where it's like when I go look at my email, it's almost all just crap. Like it's not actionable stuff generally. And part of that's just my fault for not filtering better. But Slack is at least a better signal to noise ratio. Once that channel is established, it's hard to be like, oh, let me just go send an email to this person. It's like, why didn't you message this person instead?
Yeah. And I think the big part of that is that Slack is internal only and email by default is not. And so, and as soon as we shift more into Slack, then you end up with some kind of ratio of like, I don't know, 90% external communication and 10% internal. And then it's really easy for the internal important stuff to get lost amongst the noise of the external.
I think that's dead on.
One of the other cool things that happened this morning by surprise is a DHH tweeted a link to the article. So that was a pleasant surprise this morning to wake up to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you see that before I had texted you about it?
It's funny, right? Just maybe 30 seconds before you texted me, Adam Wathan from Full Stack Radio pinged me on Twitter DM. Was like, dude, this is a nice share. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, he shared it with his paltry 250,000 followers. So
yeah, just a few. Yeah, I know.
I retweeted it for emphasis, as I told you. I want people to see that DHH is talking about what you're doing.
Yeah. The emphasis is better coming from people who are not me. I thought about retweeting it, but I'm like, this is going to look self-congratulatory or something. So I don't know. Like,
you can do that.
Yeah, maybe I can get away with it.
It's a tricky line, I think.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how much stuff that's positive about yourself do you want to re-amplify? It's like,
right.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
So I did it for you.
Thanks,
I can
man.
brag about you as much as I want.
Appreciate it. And you participated in the thread. I like that.
That's true.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I'm happy to leap to your Twitter defense.
As needed. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Did that drive some emails? Were you seeing some people signing up?
It did. I got about probably like 30 something emails from that so far. So
that's pretty legit.
Yeah, totally.
That's like spending $200 on Twitter ads.
I know. Probably much
Probably a lot more actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings my total email count as of today, which is again a week and 1 day after the initial push, is at 402 subscribers. So
that's some initial interest for sure.
Yeah. So one of my next steps is to try to keep that list warm without, like, I think there's a careful balance here of, I don't have an actual product to show to someone just yet. So I want to be careful about like over emailing to this list when I don't actually have a deliverable for them. They're signing up because they're interested in seeing the solution to this problem. So I want to make sure like not to, I don't know, over communicate, but also keep it warm, I
mean, like, so I signed up too, just because I wanted to see what you sent to this list. I feel like some of these people at least just want to see what you're doing. So it's like, maybe they're not the perfect customer, or I feel like it would be hard for you to over engage with these people.
Yeah.
Like these are the 400 earliest fans of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so somewhere there's probably like 50 of them in there that are perfect potential customers who have good taste and want to talk to you.
Yeah. That's a good point. I probably err on the side of like not wanting to spam people and feeling too overly cautious about that.
These people have double opted in, right?
Actually, I don't have double opt-in turned on right now. I'm trying to lower the barrier as much as possible.
Nice.
But
your sign up thing says you do, so you might want to update the copy.
Yeah, that's why I got a few people confused, saying like I never got my confirmation email. So I should probably use Drip properly.
Yeah, I can show you how to change that message on that page.
Could you walk me through that, please?
I'll do a screen share.
Okay, awesome.
The first thing you're going to need to do is make a Drip account, because as I understand, you don't have one anymore. So
I need to bring all my support requests to you now. Let's flip the tables on this.
I feel like for the ultimate power move, you should have been using MailChimp for that sign up form.
We've caused so much confusion.
Yeah, just mess with people.
Yeah.
So what's next? You got 400 emails. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So I want to do some outreach this week, and my goal, as I sort of alluded to last time, is to do some customer development, some validation. So I want to have conversations. I have one booked already that came in unsolicited. Someone basically cold emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm working for this prominent company we've all heard of and using this tool that I feel is better than Slack, but also feel is somewhat flawed. It's an internal tool built by this company." And so he's like, "If you're interested, let's talk. I have ideas about where our tool is failing, and it would be awesome to see if you can improve on that even further." So
nice.
Yeah.
That sounds promising.
Yeah. So I'm excited to have that conversation. I got my Calendly account set up so that I can easily shoot someone a link and they can just book time on my calendar. So I think I'm going to email around that link, and call to action being something like, "Yay, you resonate with the same pain I have. Let's talk about what your pain has been and sort of see if your ideas can help guide the product." And so I'd like to have, I don't know, 5 to 10 conversations by the next time we record, I think is a good, reasonable goal. I feel like every time I have a conversation, even if it's just a quick back and forth on Twitter, it like sparks something new in my head. So I'm really looking forward to doing more of that.
So I have a kind of ridiculous, I'm just going to throw a thing out here. Do you remember when I was considering building that like attribution tracking app and I had a call with someone and got them to prepay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
That's definitely something to consider. I hadn't really thought about that recently, but yeah.
Let me recap that for people that don't remember while you think about that. But so I was considering building this product. Doesn't really matter what it was, but I had found somebody in a Slack channel that said, yeah, that sounds awesome. We're interested in that. And so I jumped on a call with them and I said, here's what I'm thinking of building, XYZ, these features, this kind of thing. Are you interested enough that right now you would prepay for 3 months at, I think it was $150 a month, and you'll be like one of my early alpha customers? And they said yes, and they actually did do that. I felt really good about that because that's just like validation of like someone says they want the thing you're going to build is good, but like someone says they want the thing you're going to build and they're going to like pay for it and like jump that extra hoop. I feel like then you can really trust that that person is definitely interested and their feedback is worth a lot more, I think, than someone that's just like, yeah, I think this is a problem, and P.S. I'm probably never going to pay for it.
I think that is true in so many ways. I mean, it's been proved out by many folks in the sort of bootstrap startup community who've latched onto that idea of taking prepayments. And I think I'm already seeing signs that like, it's actually funny. There's this video Jason Fried posted where he was live authoring a blog post, and the concept that he was working on was I think he called it the illusion of consensus or agreement or something like that, where basically two people can be talking about the same thing, but thinking about completely different things and not even realize it. And so I don't know, how many of these people that are saying, yes, Slack is broken, think it's broken for different reasons than I actually believe. And maybe they're thinking of it in terms of like, yes, Slack for open source projects is broken. It's like, well,
right. Slack is broken because it's not free.
Yeah.
Or something.
Right. Yeah. Or it needs more integrations. And I'm like, I actually think it needs fewer. So I'm open to it. I need to think it through a little bit further. I haven't thought too much about what my pricing model is going to look like because I'm obviously up against Slack and similar tools that are really trying to wipe out the bottom end of the market with free plans. And I mean, there's an opportunity here as a niche tool that is an antidote to a major problem. Like, I think I still have an opportunity not to go heavy on free plans and just charge from the beginning with maybe a free trial or something. But that's still like something strategic I need to think through is what the model's going to look like. It's sort of like the App Store effect where with sufficient many tools out there offering free plans, is it even viable for me to come out and not offer a similar free plan just to get people in the door? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
That is something you could definitely think about, but I feel like the initial payment is not so much like this is a reflection of what my actual pricing is going to be, and more how serious are you? How validated am I really? Is this idea really? I guess. And so it could be the eventual pricing is wildly different than what you get from these people, but a couple $100 is like, okay, this person's for real.
Yeah. Maybe some way to frame this as like, give this a name, make it feel like they're part of some kind of inside club or something by like buying into the early round or something. Yeah, I think there's something there.
Yeah. I know you have some like visual design work being done, and like you're good at the visual stuff and the interactions and whatnot. So I imagine you're not super far from a handful of mockups that at least show your initial direction and could get people excited. And then imagine you click this and it does this. And it's like, okay, like you can start to see how this thing is going to be better than what they've got. So I think you could sell the dream at this point, probably.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm also, so I have two next steps written down. One of them was the outreach with the goal of having conversations. The second one was sort of continuing to think through product decisions on pen and paper specifically. So I've made the mistake in the last few weeks, I'd say, of trying to jump too quickly into Sketch and like high fidelity designs and stuff. The more conversations I have, the more thoughts I hear from people. It's sort of, for example, one of the things that was driven home was that I need to make sure I deliver on the promise of the tool actually guiding people to use good communication patterns. And my initial concepts have been probably a bit too flexible, and I need to think carefully about how to introduce the right amount of friction at the right points to steer people away from being interruptive. And I think there's like a lot of nuance there that I need to work out. And so I just have pages and pages in my notebook. I've spent the last few days not even cracking open my laptop, just writing in the notebook and brain dumping onto paper and sort of diving into, what are all the different types of messaging constructs that are important to have? There's things like discussions. There's things like notifications that people have pushed into Slack. Do I want to keep these types of things in level? There's sort of stateful things like people like to pipe their CI build statuses into Slack a lot of times. Well, should I be presenting a dashboard that shows just your current build statuses? So there's like a lot of things like that to think through. How do I keep that element of connectedness, and how much chat should there be infused into the product, and how do I keep people from using chat functionality for important conversations? And like kind of the more I dig into it, the more I'm like, okay, I really need to give this some deep thought and not jump too quickly into building product. My next goal is just to continue doing that and trying to get more refined mockups on paper first, and then once I feel good about those, translating them into digitizing them and sharing them.
Interesting. Yeah. So I have a friend actually who's at a similar stage to where you are. He is building an app for learning Mandarin Chinese, and he's been recording a video once a week of like the state of the product. He sent the latest one to me and was like, now eventually I'm hoping to do these for like potential customers in a much more refined, edited, rehearsed way. And I responded and said, send these to everyone you have on your list. Like, people like entrepreneurship porn, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing someone in the middle of the process is awesome and interesting. And it's like reality TV, and it's kind of addicting. It may not be in your nature totally, but I don't think you can really overshare at this point. Like, here's a photo I took with my iPhone of the notebook of the thing I'm noodling on for the discussion view. I would be interested. Like, I want to see that already. And I bet the people that liked you enough to put their email in that thing want to see that too. Like, the process and the journey. I got to imagine there's a lot of people that are just interested in that. And even if they don't end up buying, they're going to they can help amplify your message, and they could be potential future fans or customers.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. I think probably don't even need to wait until I don't need to go to high fidelity mockups before I start sharing things. And I actually have a page in my notebook that I'm like noodling on some kind of YouTube channel or something that's like the building level series. And I jotted down like 15 different like topic ideas that I could do, not even taking into account like the earlier stuff that I could start doing, like just literally holding up my notebook to the webcam and showing what I've been working on, I don't know if I'm ready to set a goal on like kicking that off, this week, but I think that's also a way that I've thought about like staying engaged with my early subscribers and not just taking from them and asking for them to help me, but also giving something back to them. And I think this is an interesting way to do that. The big thing I think will be to make sure that I don't end up taking too much time worrying about like nailing my presentation of these videos or like editing them. I don't think they need to be highly edited.
I think this is the new thing. I think like this seems to be how people are building stuff these days, is like dramatically out in the open. And I think it's pretty positive. Like, if you recorded a rough video of something and you talk about 7 things and everyone tweets at you about one of them, that's valuable. Like, you can get value out of even these rough things, I think. And even if that feedback doesn't come in, it's still just, I feel like that's starting to build that engagement, and that authenticity is going to get people excited. Like, when I was building briefs with Chris, people would sign up just because they were excited they just felt the energy. They're like, I want to be part of this. This is cool. Things are happening. I want to take part of it. And like, why not make use of that? Open yourself up.
And I think that's one of the unfair advantages of being small and scrappy and
exactly
sort of trying to attack this from the grassroots angle. Like, I'm not trying to build a highly polished company that can stand up against Slack. I'm trying to, it's like, this is a problem I've recognized, and I want to build this out in the open, and I want to recruit accomplices, and let's do this thing,
Yeah.
So
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think I'm going to keep pushing you to just publish more stuff, be more open,
Good.
tell us everything.
Totally. And I've also been, one of the things I've been doing is sort of journaling the big milestones that have happened. So I have two entries in this text doc that I'm just going to keep running I'm going to try to keep this up. One was when I soft launched the manifesto on the podcast, and then the actual promotion of the manifesto. And I'll probably log one for today because I got the DHH tweet and, sort of what happened from that. And maybe even just cataloging summary of the week. This week, I spent most of my time, sketching stuff in my notebook. And I think this could be an interesting one, just chronicling the journey and whether this turns into something down the line in a more polished fashion, or whether I end up just publishing this stuff online for anyone who wants to follow along. But I think the more chronicling I do, the better. Something Rob and I did with early days of Drip was just recorded once a week. And ultimately that
I listened to that whole thing, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome.
It was interesting.
Yeah. It's called Startup Stories Podcast, I think. If you search, should be listed in most podcast directories if you're interested.
I think before you and I recorded, I went through and listened to all that.
Yeah. And that was fun. And we totally didn't know what it would turn into. Or we're doing interesting stuff right now. We should record our conversations, and then ultimately it might turn into something. And Rob edited it down into a couple hours, 3 hours, I think. Yeah, it was the whole chronicling of the first year of Drip, which is really awesome to have. So,
well, it's exciting times.
For sure.
Hey, are you using GraphQL on Level, or do you plan to? Or
yeah, so the prototype that I have been working on, which definitely pieces of it will be transferred into the real product. I'm using a Phoenix on the back end, Elixir and Phoenix, with GraphQL talking to an Elm front end, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about GraphQL.
Yeah, are you guys using it?
We're not. That may become useful for us. There are bigger problems to solve first.
Yeah.
But I've been reading about it more lately, and I like it a lot. It seems very promising.
Yeah, my experience with it has been very positive, and a lot of folks, I think, tend to overcomplicate what it is. I hear people saying that if you're building a platform that has many different clients talking to it, then GraphQL is good. Otherwise, it's overkill. And to me, I've built enough REST APIs to know that it's very difficult to know what data you're going to need on the front end, and it's very common to just err on the side of sending all the data because you may need one random field out of it. And just the fact that the client can specify what fields it wants to receive and follow the graph and get all the related objects that it needs and nothing more is super powerful. And honestly, it's been a breeze building. I haven't built any REST API stuff. I've done exclusively GraphQL in my prototype, and the flow of building out those endpoints has been very smooth. So I would highly recommend GraphQL. It shouldn't feel like a overcomplicated way to go as compared to a REST API, I guess is my feeling.
This podcast episode is very us. It's
For sure.
Marketing, email address capture, pre-sales, GraphQL.
Yeah. Got to throw in a little of the deep tech stuff.
Totally. Yeah. I'm looking forward. I don't have much to share yet, but I'm looking forward to talking more about my Haskell learning adventure. I've been writing, some Haskell for real, for money, and been going through a book that I like a lot. Programming in Haskell has been awesome. I'm not quite ready to summarize or reflect, but I'm getting there. I'll have some early thoughts soon.
What's your earliest reflection comparing your Haskell experience to your Elm experience?
Haskell is a much steeper learning curve. Haskell is more powerful. Its type system is more powerful. And, it's a general purpose run on the server kind of language. Elm has picked its niche and has simplified. So Elm was a much easier thing to pick up. But Haskell feels like a superset of Elm. So I actually think learning Elm first helped me learn Haskell a lot. So I'm kind of thinking Elm might be that sort of narrow point of the wedge that gets people saying, wow, strong type systems are cool and a smart compiler is cool. I really appreciate this here. And that might be hopefully enough to get them over the Haskell's a little prickly. It's a little hard.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It's the gateway drug of functional programming languages.
Yeah, we'll see. It might be.
Okay.
I think it's got a chance of being that.
Yeah. That's cool. So I'm going to be attending a Haskell meetup, I think next week, maybe here in the Twin Cities. Yeah, because I've been looking for an Elm meetup, and such a thing doesn't exist out here in the Twin Cities. And considering starting a meetup, I know that there's a number of folks who, well, we hired one guy who kind of specializes in Elm to work on our visual email builder at Drip. And so he's super interested in participating in an Elm meetup. And I know there's like everyone on the team, on the Drip team, was very intrigued by Elm. Even the people who are not really working on front end stuff all sort of expressed interest in learning more about it. And there's a lot of like people who could potentially be interested in Elm and don't even know it yet. And I feel like there's a good opportunity to sort of use a meetup as a catalyst for that. But I know that I've heard that there's a number of Elm fans who currently go to the Haskell meetup just because,
that's funny.
Close.
That's how it is in Boston, actually, and vice versa. There's a bunch of Elm people at the Haskell meetup and Haskell people at the Elm meetup.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same jam ish.
Yeah, but I know almost nothing about Haskell, so I might. Well, they say on their meetup specifically, like you don't have to know any Haskell to come and enjoy the meetup. But
cool. Well, this is hearsay. But when I look at the talk descriptions for Boston Haskell, and from what I've talked to of people who have gone, it seems to be a little bit neckbeard type system, kind of here's a crazy advanced niche funky thing you can do with the Haskell type system, which kind of makes sense because Haskell is still used by like people doing research on compilers and things like that. But it's not like a welcome beginners, here's how to make a function kind of thing.
Right. Not maybe necessarily rooted in the practical, more in the sort of the theoretical and the
Yeah. I've been talking to one of the fellow Haskellers at work. He's a total Haskell, I wouldn't say zealot, but he's a big fan. He wants to succeed a lot. And he thinks the sort of amplifying voices of people that are using it for work is really important, because there is that academic use, and a lot of people have come away with the impression that it's only for academic use. And so we were tossing around different ideas of like, how do we get this sort of practical side of it more popular? And we even we're talking of like, what about a conference that was like Haskell in production, like Haskell for people who want to get paid kind of thing. Just to like have all practical talks.
Yeah. Even just to focus on like the sort of how do you apply it to real world stuff? Because that's something that I always look for in meetups is I'm much less interested in just sitting around talking about a language and how we can use it for little prototypes or to build like a funky game or something. It's like, how do I apply this to building SaaS? And
totally.
I'm always much more interested in like, it's fun to like toy around with monads and whatever. Like, how can we refactor this code to ultimate perfection? But then I always need to get back to the practical, or I kind of lose interest.
How is this going to let me go faster? How are we going to get paid?
Yeah.
Basically, how does this turn into value? This will shock you, but I'm also there. I also care about that.
Totally.
Well, I hope to be able to answer some of those questions. We'll see. It's fun being a beginner, and I'm enjoying that process and like learning new concepts. And there's like a lot of like little mind blowing things in Haskell. We're like, oh wow, now I kind of understand this thing, and that's such a cool idea. But I think I'm realizing it's going to take me some time before I can sort of form an informed opinion about it, because it's not just like, what is it like to write new code? It's like, what is it like to come back to old code and refactor that code and see how many bugs slip through and come up with a testing strategy that is sensitive to the fact that there's a type system. So it's like, how many tests? What kind of tests? I still have like a ton of way more questions than answers right now, but I'm looking forward to figuring that stuff out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how fast you can get there on feeling confident in your takes on it. Like even for like getting into the Ruby world, I think a lot of us, it took perhaps years before we actually like working on a production code base for literally years to see the spots where like, okay, now it'd be nice to have types. I think most of us who are fans of types have like worked with old Ruby code bases or similar like dynamic languages and seen the areas where things start to get more and more difficult over time, or refactoring becomes more difficult.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's just a range of experience you have to have where it's like, what about fixing this bug? What about hiring someone that uses this technology? I need to go like need like 20 different libraries and see what it's like to find libraries and how well they're documented and all that stuff. So there's just all these different facets that kind of go into, is this a good choice or not? And to me, there's like one of the biggest question marks is just that the Haskell compiler is really, the type system is very powerful, but you are trying to satisfy it all the time. You have to sort of fit your problem into like a type checkable kind of shape. That takes work. And there's inflexibility there. You sort of opted into that inflexibility. And so the big thing I'm trying to figure out is like, is that worth it? Like I'm sacrificing some things for correctness. Is it that much correctness? Is correctness that important? So I'm curious.
Yeah, it's like one of those arguments that Ruby came out strong against when it was sort of adoption was really picking up and people were falling in love with the language. That was kind of the rallying cry, is like, this is so nice, and it's so nice that we're willing to sacrifice static typing, and now it's nice to kind of, I think, for us as engineers to go look at the other side and experience the other side at least, and see like, is that really true, or were we just following a bandwagon, of like, we all kind of bought into the fact that like Ruby's awesome and we don't need static types, but is that really true? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, like all the Haskell people at work or that I talk to are kind of all like, type safety, type safety, type safety. Like if you do it that way, it's not type safe. And it's like, yeah, but like people have built enormous applications that were not type safe, had no type system at all. And like, it's still like, they're making money. They're still working. Correctness is, it's one dimension.
Yep.
It shouldn't be the only thing you think about.
Yeah.
So more on that to come.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Cool. All right, this is a long one. We should wrap it.
Yeah, let's wrap it.
Awesome. If people wanted to access the show notes for this episode, what would they do?
They can head to artofproductpodcast.com.
That's the URL, and that's where you go.
That is it.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
So I realized you might have told me this, but I feel like I might have forgotten that Rob and Mike did a postlude. I heard a Startups for the Rest of Us postlude the other day.
They did, yeah.
I just dipped into one episode. Is that a regular thing now?
Yeah, so they it was just so happened right around the time we started doing it. Rob was like, "Hey, funny enough, like Mike and I just did something similar."
No way. That's funny.
So it was like independently discovered.
Wow.
this pattern. I think they picked it up from, I can't remember, maybe like some other startup podcast or business podcast, I think, did it. And their take on it has been like, wait a long time and then specifically tell people like, this is, if you've made it to this point in the recording, this is like the secret postlude and don't tweet about this. So they've taken a little bit more of a secretive approach to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are you still recording, by the way? Is this our postlude?
I'm still recording. Are you?
Okay, cool. By the way, this is the postlude. This is the part of the podcast that you're not required by law to listen to.
Yeah.
The rest of it, though, we will find you.
The penalties are steep.
Yeah. I think I don't know if I got much. I might actually just wrap it. There's like, It's a work from home snow day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more home than working from home a little bit, but that's what happens.
Yeah, I didn't hear how many work from home days have you done since starting with the
Zero.
Okay.
This is the first one. I don't care that much for working from home. Like I like it. This today is fun because all my roommates are here and like my roommate's boyfriend is here and they're all cool people.
Yeah.
And we're doing stuff. But normally if it's just me, it's like, that's not my jam.
Yeah. And so you guys are using Slack.
Yeah.
How many people total in the workspace?
20-ish.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
So you're probably not totally feeling all the growing pains yet, perhaps, huh?
No, not quite. We're probably not quite big enough. I think if our dev team were a bit bigger, it'd be worse.
Yeah.
But we're still mostly all in one office too. So it's kind of like we can all and it's a small one. So we're just kind of, you can hear the conversations happening and things like that.
Yeah. So a good part of your communication is probably not actually in Slack, but sort of in person or
totally
face to face. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Well,
and
maybe I can get some more threads into your life maybe when this product actually exists.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Hopefully soonish.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got other things to focus on. Like I just instituted some retrospective.
Yeah.
So that was not happening yet. That's already been super helpful.
Good.
Just sitting down once a week and checking in with everybody and making sure things are on track, I think is totally worth the meeting penalty.
Oh yeah, totally. We've definitely did that at Drip too, where there were certain times where getting all together in a room or zooming some people in for the remote folks was absolutely worth it.
Yep. There's like, lingering things like that hadn't really, there was a like we almost aren't talking about the work that much yet because we're still talking about like a backlog of, I guess, frustrations or, issues and whatnot that I think really hadn't come out into the open yet. So I'm kind of keeping them like, they're almost like therapy sessions right now, as opposed to like prioritization and things like that.
Yeah, that's good. It sounds like it was much needed then. So it's good.
I think so. Yeah. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's cool. I'm enjoying, I didn't think I was going to, but I've been enjoying some of the more like managerial type stuff. Like I've kind of just been doing it just because I felt like some of that stuff should happen. Like doing the retro, running the dev discussion, checking in with people that are on projects, starting to talk about like, does it make sense to have person X on project Y? And like, is that the most important thing? And should we build feature X and whatnot? And I was thinking more like, I want to get back to just like slinging code and learn a Haskell. But I'm sort of also appreciating a slightly more sort of product manager-y or like slightly manager-y thing.
Well, I think you're kind of sort of a natural leader type.
Thanks.
At least that's my sense of you is that, and you've seen like a lot of good patterns, arguably from Thoughtbot. Like I think that's at least from the outside seems like they do a lot of things right and are very, very thoughtful about process and
definitely
and stuff. So
I think if I were slotted into a place that had a stronger process, there would be less of that. But I do feel like when I see a thing that I feel like is not right, I do feel compelled to go dig into it. Yeah. It's like, well, my title is X, but so I'm not going to do that. It's like, no, like I think this thing should be better. So like it drives me crazy when I can't fix something that I think should be better. Yeah. So I just start being like, can I add a meeting to everyone's calendar? I thought, yes.
I think that's good though. Like, that you're coming into a place that has very little process and you have the opportunity to influence process in the right ways. As opposed to coming in and there's like all kinds of potentially archaic process or something that you disagree with, and like rewinding existing process, I feel like is much more difficult than gradually instituting good practices.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. I also think I did. You're right. Like the stuff I learned at Thoughtbot was really good. Like it's hard to realize how good you have it until you go somewhere else. And it's like, oh, wow, like Thoughtbot really. We put a ton of effort and time and care into creating good processes. And so I can basically just cheat and say like, we should do a retro and it should be like this. And it's, you're already 90% of the way there to something good.
Yeah, totally. That stuff is invaluable.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So props to Thoughtbot for teaching me all that good stuff. That was worth the journey.
Yeah, way to go, Thoughtbot.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody who said he was thinking about applying to Thoughtbot, and I was like, do it. It's great. You should totally work there.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, I guess I'll let you get back to work.
All right.
We'll get back to
we're
sketching.
almost at an hour now. This is ridiculous. It's not a podcast. This is a long form radio play.
Yep.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Keep hustling. Let me know how it's going.
All right. I will.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.